Welcome to the On the Run with Jess and Tom podcast.
This is Jessica Taggart.
And I'm Tom Conway.
Hello,
Welcome
hello
to the
everybody.
podcast.
And we are here to talk to our spiritual seekers out there. We are diving into the mystical world of the Celestine Prophecy.
Yeah, we are.
Yes, so this is a book we actually read because it was a recommendation from a client of mine. After we went to Peru, she asked me if I have read this book. And this book, of course, talks about the energies in the world, right? All the living creatures in the world and how we exchange the energy with all the creatures in the world, including nature. And so I started reading this book, and if I felt like it was so deep, I recommended it to Tom. So he started reading it, and I think a lot of these insights resonated with you as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of them, echo our experience with individuals and things we've experienced in our own life. And particularly, in regard to nature, I've spent a lot of my life in the outdoors. And, you know, that there's something about a time alone in the woods, or time by yourself in a boat or by the seashore or something like that, where you can feel the essence of life.
Yes, yes. So they talk about this manuscript, right? And the author made this story around this manuscript that gives you 9 insights to learn how to live better, connecting to the source.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and,
That author would be James Redfield.
yes,
Probably good to point that out.
yes. So, so we found it very interesting, and this is why we wanted to share it with you. The first, we're gonna talk about the insights, right? The first insight talks about this awakening happening. You know.
Yeah, and so keep in mind, put this in the context of 1993 when Redfield wrote this, and the new age was in swing at that point. Spiritualism was a fairly new development in definitely Western culture, and that's where you got a lot of the self-help stuff started to come along, and the gurus and all that other stuff. And so he was right in the pocket of that with this writing in '93.
Yeah. So they already saw this shift about to happen, right? People looking for different ways to connect other than the regular and rigid norms of society and I guess religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
One
Yeah,
specific religion.
yeah.
So humanity started opening the eyes to a new um, idea, I would say, right? An idea of,
Well,
you
I
know,
think I think they started opening their mind up to an old idea, not necessarily a new one, right?
well,
Yeah.
yeah. Rediscovering, you know, why we're here
Mm-hmm.
and how we actually get into this deep connection with nature and with each other,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So this manuscript has 9 insights, and we're gonna discuss the insights, right? The number one was that, like I said, it was um like the premonition of something happening, some like this shift in humanity happening,
Yeah. An
right? The
awakening, pretty
awaken,
much.
yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
awakening.
Yeah.
And then the second insight talks about the synchronicities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how when you are in the path of pursuing something, you start encountering these synchronicities that will take you to the right place, right?
Yeah.
And
And
I
no, and I think it's also about like recognizing, many people would say, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Many people that believe in everything happens for a reason and yada
mhm,
yada yada. There's no such thing as a coincidence. And so what this really does is it calls upon you to recognize and focus upon the things that would otherwise maybe be deemed as a coincidence by somebody. For instance, if you run into a particular stranger more than once, or you see someone that you don't know. Let's say twice in a week. I saw you at the supermarket. I saw you at the mall. Kind of instructs you to go engage that, and under the premise that both of you have something valuable for each other
yeah,
to share. And so that was longer now.
Yes, and when I started seeing this actually transpire in my life was when I started doing like all the healing work, right? And when I had already found this path that I'm so passionate about, and every time I turn a corner, I find something that has to do with this, right? I
Mm-hmm.
see new things that relate to the work I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I go places, and I'm gonna give you an example. The ladies I work with and I went to this fair, right? And we were standing. We had like a little booth where they were selling the things they create with their own hands. And next to me, there was a lady with a crystal shop,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, there are like 100 different businesses or 200, hundreds
Mm-hmm.
of different businesses. And this
Yeah.
lady happened to be next to our booth,
Yeah.
right? So I just walked to her to see what she has because I love this kind of jewelry and crystals, and all the energy that crystals carry too. So
Mm-hmm.
I went and I started talking to her, and
Yeah.
I really want to learn a lot more because I know crystals carry energy also, right? So I went and I started talking to her, and I just felt like it was my soul meeting an old soul that I already know, right? And she does this kind of work helping people find, their voice and healing too. And she happens to be a healer.
So let me clarify something here, only because I want to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about. When you talk about the people you work with, you're not talking about coworkers. You're talking about the community group that you lead,
Yeah.
and the survivors that you work with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so part of the things you do is some of your craft workshops and things like that to kind of to do a lot of things for them. One is to give them a release, and others to teach them their skills and their worth. And then so you were at a craft fair. With the intention of distributing that stuff or interacting with other people, and then you
Yeah.
ran into this individual. And
Yeah.
so,
So I was, doing my work is what I do with these ladies are healing workshops,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when we take them out to the fairs, is with the mind that we are going to teach them that they can actually use, sell what they create with their own hands and use these as a resource, to support their families, which
Mm-hmm.
is our
Right.
intention, right? So
Right.
they become independent so they can support their
Mm-hmm.
families. And so I met her and she told me part of her story, and a lot of her story like is similar to mine, right? And then after a little while, somebody else came to her booth, and it was an spiritual DJ,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing like the somatic dance, and I'm into all
Mm-hmm.
these
Yeah.
soul kind of music, spiritual music, and then I met this guy Will, and we started talking. And I'm like, this is another guy who belongs to this tribe, right? The
Mm-hmm.
healing tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I go to different places, I just keep meeting these people who are who have this goal, right? The goal of making this world a better place, especially for our future generations, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Healing
Yeah.
our
I mean, again,
community.
I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm largely supportive of what you do. It's just important to understand that the souls collect in these kind of events also. You know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah.
you're likely, birds of a feather travel together kind of thing. And so you're likely to
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
encounter.
of
Yeah.
course. Now, I go to these events where a lot of these people
Sure.
gather,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's just that it happened that I met these people in different places, different events that had nothing to do with spirituality,
Mm-hmm.
but they were there,
Mm-hmm.
right next to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of these things, and then I come across some workshops. Well, the internet kind of reads your mind, right?
Uh,
So,
yeah. That's
and that's so funny because you think, well, they make it very synchronic
well, yeah.
somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and all these things. So it's just amazing. I feel that when you find things that thing that drives your soul,
Mm-hmm.
you start seeing, all the
Sure.
pieces of the puzzle start coming
Yeah,
together.
provided you
You
take
know?
the step in front of you, right, and you start walking that path, and the path will open up
Yeah,
ahead of you.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Then the insight number 3 talks about energy, right? And do you remember in the book when they talk about this aura we all have,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
all have this aura, and the more connected to the source, and the source in this case is love. For other people, could be just God, could be, you know, whatever they believe in, right? That's the source. When you find that connection and you have that inside of you, in your soul, when you have that love, when you feel that compassion, that empathy, your energy field grows, and you can see it expand and touch other people, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I understood it, right? And you can actually see
Well,
see those auras, right?
yeah, I mean, you're encouraged to engage every not I mean living thing and other things that are not obviously alive but are with love first, right? It's to engage them lovingly as a product of creation, um, and so when you lead with that love, and there's going to be an exchange there, an energy
Yeah.
exchange, yeah. Hmm.
So, and that takes us to insight number 4, talks about the power and control struggle. And this is so interesting because they talk about people as being a charging port, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you have no power, you cannot charge anyone, right? If you have lost your power, if you have lost that connection with the pureness of the source,
Hmm.
you have no power, you have no energy to give out, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of these energy suckers actually want to steal the energy from others, right?
Yeah, he describes this as the control drama. All of this
Right.
is called the control drama, and that there are basically 4 specific types of controllers, or whatever you want to call
Energy suckers.
energy suckers,
Yeah.
right? And all of that is in an effort for to have mastery of energy, right? It's the person that's drawing the energy is I guess, for lack of a better, more powerful, right? I guess that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing that, but that's the idea. And so that what he's saying is that in all of life, it's basically an exchange of energy, and that people seek it's like an energetic wrestling match almost, back and forth for energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you want to tell our audience what the 4
Yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to read them though to make sure I got them right. And so, yeah, the first one would be the intimidator. And it says, these energy suckers use aggression, dominance, or fear to exert control over others. They thrive on power and often try to intimidate or manipulate those around them to feed off their energy. That's a pretty, we could talk about them individually after.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the interrogators. The interrogators are individuals who constantly question and doubt others. They may challenge or criticize everything, leaving people feeling drained and defensive. Their constant need for answers and validation can deplete the energy of those they interact with. The aloof energy suckers create distance and keep others at arm's length. They may appear to be disinterested, detached, or emotionally unavailable. The aloofness can cause others to seek attention and approval, which feeds the energy sucker's need for validation. And number 4, poor me. Poor me energy suckers play the victim role, and they constantly seek sympathy and attention. They often complain about their circumstances, focusing on their problems and challenges. Their negativity and self-pity can drain the energy of those around them as they seek validation and support.
It's amazing. If you think about the exchanges of energy or our life experiences, right? Have you ever been in a place where you are with someone and your energy just like drops?
Yeah, you haven't worked in as many offices as I had having a professional career, and I've been with every one of these people. Yeah,
my God.
multiple iterations of them. I mean, it's essentially a workplace is what we got here.
It is life draining.
Yeah,
it drains the life out of you. And this is why it's so important to learn how to set our boundaries, right? And sometimes we become those energy suckers.
Well, we all play one of these roles.
Sometimes we do, because we fall, a lot of the times we fall in that victimism mind because, let's say I grew up in a victimism state of mind, right? And a lot of times that victim mentality returns, without me being conscious, but it returns. And then I become that sucker of energy, right? So that's why becoming aware of these behaviors is so important.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then when you start feeling like someone is draining your energy, it's best to pull out of the situation, just walk away, right? Because it is too much. Sometimes it's just like they take the life out of you.
Yeah, and you're not entitled to deliver it. And I think that's, especially, if you were raised to be polite, and we were, my siblings and I were raised to be polite. We had a religious education, or Catholic education to be specific, and it was very, very manner driven, very subservience driven, very rule follower driven. And so, sometimes in the enactment of those manners, you can allow yourself to be trampled upon by somebody else because you don't know how to say, excuse me, I'm not interested in this conversation right now. This is something, I'd rather not engage in, or, I'd prefer if we could stick to X topic, Y topic, or Z topic, or whatever it is. And so, you can get dragged down a hole, in a number of ways. And I think all of us probably play one of these, roles iteratively, and more than one, depending on the situation. Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now that you mentioned religion, religion also, if you think about it, can make you a finger pointer,
well,
right?
Sure, yeah.
Because if you believe certain, you have like this moral beliefs, right? You have this doctrine. Mm-hmm. So a lot of religious people place themselves on an altar kind of thing. And so when they see the world acting in a different manner, they are very fast to point fingers, right? And a lot of the times they don't point fingers at them in the mirror.
Well, most of the time. I mean, if you've spent as much time around churches as I've had, you'll see that, the people that are on the inside of those walls are, as bad as anyone that doesn't come and doesn't belong to a congregation. And listen, the issue is that churches of every kind are composed of human beings, and human beings of every kind are composed of these personality types, always seeking validation, always wanting to be included, and feel the state of belonging, and in turn they validate themselves by invalidating other people. I mean, this is the human condition,
Yeah.
Which turns a lot of people off to faith and religion, and it's a shame because you have to engage people either in your congregation or outside of your congregation, and understand that they are people too. They're having the same experiences, faith-wise or not.
Yeah, no, this takes us actually to the fifth insight that talks about messages from the mystics, right? And this talks about, it doesn't matter what faith, what religion, it doesn't matter what's your background in terms of religion, right? Or what you believe in. But if you are connected to the root of this creation, which is nature, with the root of your soul, which is pureness, light and pureness, right? If you're connected to that and you actually project that outside with love, with compassion to others, then you create this balanced energy between you and the ones you have around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's difficult. Right, it's difficult because not everybody is up to raise their energy, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people are just in that state where they can't raise the bar. I mean, they cannot raise that vibration for some reason, right? And we just stay in the past. One of the insights actually talks about clearing the past, and it might be the next one. Yeah, it is actually the past. The next insight talks about clearing the past. Right? If we don't get rid of the limitations and the labels and all those things we have adopted growing up, right? And all the things all the things we believe with the perception we had about our life.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Again, this ties into everything pretty much, regardless of how we chop up these episodes or what we read. It all comes down to basically this same situation, is that nobody's got a great backstory. I mean, there are some people, right, that were raised by, emotionally stable and developed parents, and they have whatever different challenges in their life. But majority of people come from people that are dysfunctional people. We all are. None of us are perfect. None of us, and so it always comes down. At some point, you have to step into your individuality and your adulthood and say, hey, first of all, I'm not my past. Secondly, whatever that was are lessons I need to understand, and either repeat them if they're good or make sure that I don't pass them on if they're not, and step into your individual role here, which I believe we all have an individual job to do in this life,
Yeah.
And we're not always leading characters in that story, by the way, which is difficult in today's culture. Everybody's got their own personal, television channel, via TikTok or Instagram or Facebook and YouTube. And so,
Spotify.
Yeah, no, and so don't miss it. And so, it's difficult to understand. The story's not about you. It's not like this is not, and not everybody is.
Yeah, I mean, it is about you and the way that you need to take care of what you carry in here.
Right, correct. Yeah,
it is about you when it comes to it's time for you to say, I'm letting this baggage go.
Sure, yeah.
Right? It is about you when you decide to give yourself love first before you ask for it. Right? It's about you when you decide to respect yourself before you ask for it somewhere else. Right? So I think everything starts with us. Yes, but we are not the center of everything.
We're not the main character,
right?
is my point.
Right.
In other words, don't expect to win every argument or never have your feelings hurt, or never be, treated poorly at work or in the street or whatever, That's a different situation.
That's a thing that we all need to learn. We need to learn that the world's reaction is not about us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the world is doing out here has nothing to do with your value and with the work you're doing in here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your world.
Don't expect them to get it.
Right. Your world and what you get outside in the world is what you give.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is why it's so important to go back to the past and see yourself with compassion, forgive those who harm you in a way, and understand that they had a story that they were going through, and they had their own baggage that they couldn't let go of.
Sure.
And so we really need to start seeing others with compassion and with empathy, right? And see ourselves in that way too. So we start seeing ourselves with compassion and with empathy, understanding our processes, being patient with our mistakes, because we continue to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we do that with us, if we do that with ourselves, forgiving, ourselves for the mistakes we have made, we're going to be able to forgive others and to see others with compassion and empathy, right? And that's one of the things he touches upon, living in a world with love, empathy, and compassion, right? That's the main goal, so you can connect yourself to that source of love and be this charger, be a charger for those who need you, right? Mm-hmm. And always have enough energy to give out to the world around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't let those energy suckers take your
that's what I was
energy.
I mean, what do you do to those people that just they're not part, they're not part of that equation, so to speak. I mean, we all have them in our lives, and they just they insist on remaining where they're at.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, the only thing we can do is see them with compassion.
Well, it reminds me of the mind shift that we covered way back when, and it was like, not everybody's comes along for the ride, and I think sometimes it's that too, and that could be difficult, depending on your nature of your relationship to certain individuals, But
yeah. But I mean, you can share what you've learned, right, and try to enlighten their life in a way, but some people are never ready.
Yeah.
Some people are so wounded that they don't see any other way.
Yeah.
And bitterness has taken over, unfortunately. And this is why, in order for you to see the bright side of life, every day you have to practice finding something bright.
Well, and I think also finding a community of like-minded individuals, right, that share that desire to grow and to actualize into the next step in their lives, and not to hold on to the past and kind of swim in the sewage that we encounter on a daily basis.
And a lot of people that go out just to criticize others, that's a waste of energy too. A lot of people are out just to criticize what others are doing, and they don't take the time to dive into their own selves and grow. How are you going to grow if you are always criticizing other people, So it is fun. If you have found a place in your life where you feel like you're above everyone, good for you. Well, be an example, be a leader, inspire people, but do not point fingers, right? That's hurtful, and at the end of the day, when you do that, all that bad energy comes back to you.
Well, sure. Listen, I mean, one of the reasons why key characteristics of leaders is to assume responsibility is for things such as that, right? I mean, there's no such thing as blaming others for the current situation or the outcome of the situation. A leader, takes responsibility for what's happened, and they figure out a way forward. And it's a similar situation in social circles. You you can't even blame the people. Let's say you consider yourself to be an enlightened person, and you're in a room of people that are unenlightened. You really can't blame them for the outcome of the interaction. I mean, it comes down to how you handle it, the things you choose to engage in, not, and how long you want to remain in the room. The door's unlocked. In every situation. So
yeah, I mean, share the light with everyone you encounter, right? But those who are not ready to see their own light, you just have to be compassionate, because a lot of us human are not ready to see that light,
I think that a lot of us don't know it's there. They were never taught to recognize it, and they don't know how to embrace it. Again, that's a forgiveness situation in most cases, and it's a trauma overcome situation too, right? Again, like who knows who raised anyone? Whatever if you're fortunate enough to have parents at all, whatever marks that they left, during the rearing process. I mean, it takes a lot sometimes for people to recognize their value.
And there's where compassion comes. You really need to see everyone with compassion. You don't know what their stories are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what their scars are. You don't know how painful it still is, how much they are still holding on to that pain.
Yeah.
And they, sometimes instead of letting go, they just hold it close,
I think this is one of the reasons why, and I know you share my my interest in young people, and why I think it's so critical to get to kids in school age kids in middle school, in junior high school, in high school, and kind of get them to be part of the conversation and understand that they're not their parents, they're not their history, they're not any mistakes they might have made as younger kids. They're also not their family's mistakes, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, people have young kids have siblings that might be incarcerated, or a parent that might, God forbid, be incarcerated, or the victim of a crime, self-inflicted or otherwise, and so they bear the shame of that, and the relation to that, and it's not their weight to carry, and so many other things come out of that through adolescence and young adulthood, and through your 20s, 30s. Yeah, right. If you don't ever go and say, okay, this isn't mine, or this is mine, but it's okay because this has taught me X, Y, and Z, or this has made me good at this, or taught me not to do this, and I have my superpower is this because I experienced this as a young person, and so that's why one of the things that I seek more than anything is just to connect with that youth component of our society, and really kind of get in there and bring them to life.
Yeah, that'll be the beginning of changing our generations to come.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so important for them to realize that their experiences, as bad as they were, they are part of their evolution.
Mm-hmm.
As souls in this planet, and so for them to understand that it wasn't their fault, that there's a way to find forgiveness in your heart, to those that harm you, and forgive yourself, and go back and rescue that little child that went through these experiences, right?
Yeah.
And bring and assure this child that everything's going to be okay, that you are going to be the one taking care of this child now.
You meaning yourself.
That's correct. Your adult self, right? That grown person who understand that the pureness of your soul is what we need to get back, right? We need to get back to that, the pureness of our soul.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the connection.
Mm-hmm. And that's I think one of the methods that you mentioned to me that you're familiar with is regression therapy. Right. And that focuses on that, that travel backward kind of, and
yeah, I mean, all of these psychedelics, all this work, therapy, also, hypnosis, all of these tools really help you go back and so you can identify what experiences marked you in the way, or what experiences gave you these labels, what experiences gave you this pain that you carried, and visualizing that little child feeling the pain and just going back and rewriting the story. Like we have done this quantum healing meditation, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where you go back and meet the little child, and you don't really focus on the story so much, but you focus on the emotion. what is the emotion this child is carrying at this moment. So you can meet him in this moment and say, listen, we're going to process this, and I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to embrace you. I'm going to hug you, and I'm going to take you to a safe place, which is here where we are right now, right? This is the safe place for our inner child. So this is very important to just go back to the past only to comfort our inner child, and to let this inner child know that we are okay,
Yeah.
And then the 7 insight talks about following the flow, right? The flow,
which is and simple, like similar to what you mentioned earlier. With you start to walk kind of that path, and then you encounter situations and individuals that assist that that journey, and to kind of release yourself into that.
Yeah. Embrace the synchronicities, embrace the opportunities, right? Once you open up your soul to what you're actually passionate about, you're going to see opportunities present, right?
Yeah.
And so embrace the opportunities, embrace the change, embrace all the possibilities, because they're out there, you know?
Yeah. Just don't stand still, right? I mean, find out where they are and go.
Yeah. Go with the flow. Number 8. Do you have number 8?
Do I have number 8?
Oh, yeah. You were going to talk about this one. The interpersonal ethic.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, this one doesn't seem so not as mystical, I guess, as the rest of the book, just because it just ties into your personal relationships in any regard. And so I'll just read that. It says the insight focuses on the importance of authentic and meaningful connections with others. It highlights the power of genuine listening, empathy, and understanding, and fostering deeper relationships. I just said fostering in my Long Island accent. I mean, obviously those are critical components to any functional relationship, right? There's a reason why good therapists are great listeners, good spouses are great listeners, good friends are great listeners. It's such a critical thing. And personally, I love deep conversations. I love deep relationships with people. I don't have a lot of really fleeting relationships in my life. Generally, when I have a friend, they're a pretty deep friend, because I like to go deep with conversation and get to know what makes people tick, and be able to share my own thoughts without holding back. That's something I really like. And so, I mean, I think that the interpersonal ethic it governs our entire experience here on earth, from the time, we're kids to the time, we leave this place. It's just really important. And one of the other ones mentioned this in terms of energy, right? I think it was I don't know if it was 2 or 3 when they say, like when you have that coincidence, engage that coincidence, try to find, both of you have something to give each other. But that's the case with every 2 people on earth. Like you can learn something from everyone, regardless of how maybe off you think they are, or what, if it's a class issue, a culture issue, whatever it is, you can learn something from everyone. And it's harder to think that they might be able to learn something from you. I don't. That's one of the things I struggle with. Like I'm a student, right? I love to learn from people, to watch people, to see how they do things, ask questions, and figure things out. I'm not so good in understanding that my output might be valuable, but I do think that any 2 people can share wisdom and grow from that interaction.
Charge each other.
And across generations and age groups and stuff. How many times have you met a really brilliant older person, who's still very much in control of their wits, and you can have fascinating conversations with them, because of their life in retrospect and things that they've experienced, and that you have yet to or may never, because of social periods or, whatever might go on. And so you have you can learn so much. And then, like I said, I happen to like, young people in that regard. I remember when my kids were little, and I used to like to talk to their friends when they come over and just ask them questions and kind of mess with them a little bit and stuff like that. But I loved, the genuinity of their answers and the pureness of their answers, and like watching them like rolling around in their head and trying to answer like what you were asking. And you can learn from them too, you can learn from just the simplicity of honesty and the ease in which that they just share their thoughts,
I think that's something we need to bring back to our adult life, that innocence, that honesty, that drive. When you are a child, you think you can do anything and everything. Right? When
depends. If you were raised Irish, you don't believe you can do anything. You're told that you can't. You're like, no, you can't do that.
Oh, wow. Yeah. No, I mean, when I was 5, I mean, these dreams wouldn't let me. My dreams won't let me sleep. That's how crazy
I would get in trouble for not sleeping.
My mind was so crazy, and I always thought, oh my God, this is possible. Yes, I can. I even plan my ideas, my goals in my mind. And I was like, yes, of course, I'm going to do this. And then, of course, the labels came and the insecurities came and all this other, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to be able. Adulthood came and I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to be able to, because I had already put myself so many limitations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the personal ethics, I was thinking, now when you have an interaction with other person, now you know that is an exchange of energy.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Every time you have an interaction with someone, you're exchanging energy. And then you think about the struggle of power, right? Who can overpower the energy of the other,
a lot
right?
Of relationships and you can identify these components times and again, like I said earlier, times when you were any one of those or other people or any one of those, because of whatever you had ticking on inside like that. I've always had a really strong connection with people's energy. I walk into a room and I can feel it, right away. And it's funny because I'll still try to talk myself out of it, because you want to give people the opportunity to prove you wrong, so to speak. Like I don't like to I'm not a first impressions kind of guy. Like I give people grace, because I know that there's many people in my life that I've met and I was off a little bit or not focused on the interaction or whatever, and I could have come off in a number of ways. And so I try never to let that initial reaction flavor the experience, even though it does on some level. Mm-hmm. But I've just always had a really good intuition that way, energetically, and so it's I think it's helped a lot, because I enjoy as much as I loathe people. I love socializing in my own way. So it's very strange, because I do love I love the human interaction. I just got to figure out how to do it without people, and then I'd really love it better.
I don't know about that. Okay, yes. So if you think about how we have been living our life without knowing that we are on this struggle for power, right? On this struggle for recharging ourselves all the time. So we're always it's like people are always struggling to recharge, and sometimes they want to recharge themselves of other people.
No, it's always, but see, this is the thing, like let's really plug
and that's the dynamic.
What does Western culture tell us? Western culture and the worldwide marketing machine that we are a participant in, they tell you that you're unhappy. They remind you that you're unhappy, and they give you millions of ways to make yourself happy, whether it's through financial gain or material goods or vacations or drugs, alcohol, looks, whatever it is, it's going to recharge you. And so if you're drawing your charge from the wrong place, right, and which is, in my opinion, is the case. If you don't have a connection with your creator, whoever you may imagine that person or being to be, the source of life, you're going to be pulling your energy from the wrong place. And so that's the beauty and the importance of meditation and prayer and just even quiet time with yourself. Like you could call it whatever you want. Walking around, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, I love walking around in the outdoors by myself. I love walking along the beach, or I used to go fishing by myself, and times I used to go hunting by myself. And there's such a depth to the state of mind there, which is also you get from, even though I wouldn't consider myself a runner, and it's not one of the activities that I'm like, oh, I want to get out and run. When you are outside running, after a couple of miles, just I start to enjoy it. For me, it's like the 2-mile mark, and then you're in your head. Then you're just locked in your head. You can hear your heartbeat. You hear your shoes hitting the pavement, and you just connected to that rhythm of your body and the rhythm of the what's going on around you, and then you're inside yourself. Yeah. And so that's all of that stuff comes. And so if that's not where you're getting your charge from, then you're most likely getting it from malformed relationships and social hierarchies and just all that BS.
So we are this perfect creation, right? We come to this world as being this perfect creation. Then we adopt all these things, and we ended up needing validation because we don't get it from our parents, a lot of us, right? We don't get the connection, so we need the connection from outside. We feel like we need the connection from outside. We need the validation from outside. We need...
If you don't feel it, where else would you imagine you can get it, right? You'd have to say, I don't have it here. It must be out there somewhere.
Exactly. So this is the culture. The culture is everything I need is outside of me, but it's not.
Right.
everything you need is in here when you are connected,
Yeah.
right? So, and this is something that really needs to change. This is the culture that needs to change. When
Well,
you
you know what?
find,
I just have, let me. I don't know if I'm correcting you or I'm just adding to what you said. Everything you need is in here,
mm-hmm,
but because your ability to connect to everything you need
mm-hmm,
already exists inside you. In other words,
yeah,
in terms of a universal energy, right? It's
right.
not that you yourself as an autonomous being is all you need.
No, no,
It's
no,
just
no.
that you already have all of the tools you need to connect to what's there and what's
Yeah.
born into you already.
Yeah, you have the tools to see yourself with compassion. You have the tools to give yourself validation. You have the tools to give yourself that connection that you were always looking for, right? You have the tools to find that connection to the higher power so you can be whole, right? And so you can go out to the world not to take from anyone, but to be a source of energy for those who need it and for those who need to learn, right? That there's no need for you to take energy from anybody else. You need to be your.
Do you think it's conscious though?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I
It's
don't
not.
think it is. It's just
No.
the natural. Like if you're hungry and he's hitting a peanut butter and jelly,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah. Of
hey,
course.
he has
This
what I
is
need.
this is exactly what I was saying. You are born as this perfect light, perfect connection, right? And then everything else on top of you is just like dust, dust. And then, I mean, you cannot see what you are, and everything you were born with is like covered, right? So where do you find this? What we think is like, okay, when I fall in love, I'm gonna get that from my husband, right? That's what little girls think. When I
big
find
girls think it too.
when I find my prince, I'm gonna find validation. I'm gonna find connection. I'm gonna find love.
Yikes.
I'm gonna find respect.
No.
You have to find that in you first, right? And be that charger, be that pole of light.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's that. And then number 9 talks about the engaging culture, right? Where the shift already happened, and we engage into this compassionate culture, a loving culture.
Yeah, that's like
right?
I imagine, like, I don't know. You're a lot younger than I am, but there was a Coke commercial in the '70s, and it was like a whole bunch of hippies like dancing around drinking Coke. Because I'd like to see the world to see perfect.
We're all light.
Like, wee. Yeah, and it's all like that. But it is the idea of it, like everyone always says, if everybody would do this at once, if everybody would live generously, if everybody would live outgoingly, there would be balance, right? I mean, you'd reach a balance, but
yeah, it's necessary, to have that spiritual awareness.
And so nine focuses on that futuristic state and what Earth becomes, or life itself becomes after that state is reached, and with plenty of resources and blah blah yada yada yada.
Yeah. And that'll be like the perfect world, right? Where we are all there just to grow in power, and empower others and recharge each other. When you are, and one of the chapters in the book talks about how when he starts connecting to that feeling of love, the same feeling of love he felt when he fell in love for the first time, the same feeling of love he felt when he was connected to nature for the first time, in that way, when he's able to just close his eyes and connect to that love, deep sense of love, his energy field grows.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you stay in that state,
we didn't really touch on that, right? Like so in the book, the aura of everything, what we would call something's aura, or all life has a visible energy field, right? And it's different colors based on different factors and different forms of life it is. But there's several scenes where they describe looking at two people in a conversation, and you can see the energy dimming and brightening in someone, or the colors changing based on the emotions that the person's experiencing, and then looking out over the landscape and seeing the trees and all the life kind of glowing with that. And I don't think we really touched on that because it's an actual key part of the book,
And it was nice that we actually read it after we came back from the jungle, because I did feel that connection to the source of life, right? Because I mean, everything there is so like rich, so vibrant, so alive, so like, and it's true, you can just go outside and connect with nature and feel like you are this sense of this sense of wholeness. What you felt
Like
when you
continuity. Yeah, always.
this what you felt, exactly what you felt when you did the ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
This sense of belonging,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we find that sense of belonging without looking for it outside of us? How do we find that? When we go inside, right?
Yeah.
When we go deep inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why this experience with the ayahuasca was, to me, was that,
Yeah.
finding connection with my own soul, with my own wisdom, right? And the plant spirit, the spirit of the plant actually helps you get into this journey, right?
Yeah. So I just want to clarify, when I say read, I mean listen.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I listen to the book.
Mm-hmm.
I read some things, but not for any period of time, because I generally can't sit still long enough when I do it while I'm doing other things. But I was glad that I listened to it before we saw the movie. And no offense, James Redfield, but that was a terrible film. It didn't like many films, right? And they often almost always they tell a different story in essence, right? Because you have to compact like so much detail into 90 minutes or 120 minutes, if it's really something worth something. But I thought that movie did a horrendous job of relaying the sentiment of the book. It just didn't do a good job. It would have been, had I not read the book prior, I don't think I could have followed that film. And I wanted to watch it all the way through just to see, how it developed. But it was just didn't do it justice. And it's funny because according to, I listened to an interview with him. In fact, at the end of the audiobook, I know you listened to the same one I did, they have an interview with him, and I believe she's now his wife, who kind of co-wrote this and wrote the screenplay, the initial screenplay for the film, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, forgive me if you didn't write it. But they were thrilled with it. And I was like, no.
Yeah. Yes, I did feel like the book itself is a lot deeper than the movie.
Like all are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of how skillful is the screenplay at condensing, selecting the critical details and now representing them in visually, which is really cool. Like it's really fascinating piece of filmmaking, right? Because you have to choose the right the right actors and actresses to physically relay the embody the characters, and then also all of it, the light and sound. Like
they should have called me.
I like cinema. Yeah,
they should have called me. They needed a Peruvian actress.
Well,
I don't think they have Peruvian actors.
I didn't. There was two Hispanic people in that movie.
Yeah, because the Celestine Prophecy takes place in Peru.
It was literally two Hispanic people in the whole movie. Yeah, but all seemed to be Caucasian people.
Yes.
I believe there were
some Spanish people who spoke Spanish, but it wasn't like a Spanish from Peru, right?
Yeah.
So but they put some effort, and for that we applaud them. But it didn't touch me as deep as the book did, for sure. Yeah, and the book also suggests following your intuition, your inner guide. So it's good. It's always, great to tap into your own wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. I remember there was a specific scene where the main character had to choose between the two roads and which one to go, and he kind of allowed it to draw him downward. But it's funny, one of the other things actually in the book, now that I'm thinking about it, and in the movie as well, was how even your wrong choice is the choice you were meant to make. That there's a lot of that, you are in the moment where you're meant to be in the moment, regardless of how you got there. And so one of the scenes, they wind up imprisoned in some makeshift prison, and then because of that, he winds up meeting the girl that he was separated with from earlier in the story. And then they go on to escape together. And so one of his missions was to find her and help her, and then he felt like he wasn't going to be able to reach that mission when he got locked up. But it actually turned out that was how he was to find her and escape. And so there's a lot of that kind of idiosyncrasies in the movie and stuff like that. And I should say the story in general. So it was good. It was good.
And so it happens in life, right? Because you don't know why you take this path, but something inside of you is telling you, just take this path, and regardless of all the negative experiences that you might encounter, they are taking you wherever you need to go. And you're always going to the place you need to go.
Every experience is a lesson. And in essence, there really is no negative experience. It's just lessons derived in different manners, and some of them are a lot less comfortable than others, and
Yeah.
and albeit painful, and so those are the ones we'd probably call negative. But there really is no negative experience. That they're all instructive.
Yeah.
If you allow them to be so.
Yeah. This is why times it's not necessary to hang on into the pain, the regret.
No, be mindful of the experience.
The situations, right? And
be mindful of the experience.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through a lot of situations where you're like, why did I do that, right?
Yeah.
But then you answer yourself your question and say, well, I did that and I went through that because I needed to learn something from this experience.
Yeah, and in the moment, that's another self-dialogue is, okay, I don't see this now. I don't understand what this is about now, but I know it's for my good.
Yeah.
And, it's going to have, it's got a positive outcome, whatever it is. And again, the positive outcome is not always in your lifetime for you and visible to you. Many times it can benefit other people. They learn from your experience or whatever the case is. But if you even go through the painful moments in your life, which is difficult to do, and I've been there, and just say no, like I know that this is for the best. I know that this is going to affect what's next.
Yeah.
And even if it causes you to be able to be a better resource for other people in their own pain, very similar to what you do in your work, like you have that experience and that strength that you can give to others now because you've endured the pain of it for you, so that's a critical step.
It's all part of the evolution, like we said before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we should take it as that, right? So we don't become victims again and all the time,
right.
So we don't go back to that state of mind constantly. Just see it as a step forward in our growth in this lifetime. And
100%.
That's all.
All right.
And I think we have covered all 9 insights. There's a 10th one. I just downloaded the 10th insight.
Oh, is it? So, okay. So at the end, that's right. So at the end of the movie, and I won't ruin it for you guys, or the end of the book, it's inferred that, I don't remember how the main character gets the message that there is another. I don't think it says it. I don't remember if it says it. There's a 10th, or there's another, or there's more, or whatever. But so that's how it kind of leaves off and paves the way for an additional storytelling. But yeah, so.
Yeah. So you want to summarize the insights? Just if you want to read just the titles.
Oh, you mean to read through the list?
Yeah, just read the list so we know what they are, because they're supposed to be tools to
Oh, actually, I have them here.
To live an enlightened life and connect, right?
Yep. All right. So the 9 insights are: a critical mass. The insights suggest that humans are on the verge of a spiritual awakening, a shift in consciousness that will lead to a new way of living and interacting with the world. The second was the longer now. That means this insight emphasized the importance of living in the moment and being fully aware of the synchronicities and the meaningful coincidences that occur in our lives. And again, that's to engage that situation that seems to be a coincidence and to actively engage it and bring it into action. And the third insight was a matter of energy, and that explores the concept of energy and how it flows through everything. This is what I was referring to earlier with the auras and things that are visible. It suggests we can increase our energy by being aware of our own energy dynamics and interacting with others in a positive and uplifting way. The fourth insight, struggle for power. This insight delivers the dynamics of power and control and how they impact our relationship and interactions. It encourages us to move away from power struggles and instead focus on empowering others and ourselves. Anybody who works in an office, that's for you.
Corporate.
So you're welcome. Corporate, and not so much. Even I've worked for small businesses of 3 to 5 people, and even in groups that small, you can have the same thing going on. So it's just the human condition. The fifth insight, the message of the mystics. Insights explore the teachings of various spiritual traditions and highlights the common message of love, unity, and connection that they share. And so this just goes back to the universality of faith in general and the source of life. being universal across any denominations or faith or religious beliefs, and so that's just there to kind of unite. That was kind of the premise of the prophecies to a degree. And then the sixth insight is clearing the past. The insight emphasized the importance of resolving past traumas, releasing emotional baggage in order to live fully present and experience greater spiritual help, otherwise known as psychotherapy. The seventh insight, engage the flow. The seventh insight encourages us to trust and follow the flow of life, embracing opportunities and synchronicities that come our way. It suggests that when we align with the flow, we can experience greater fulfillment and purpose. Go with the flow. The eighth insight, the interpersonal ethic. This insight focuses on the importance of authentic and meaningful connections with others. It highlights the power of genuine listening, empathy, understanding, and fostering deeper relationships. I would say count to 10 in your head every time you want to speak when you're in a conversation with somebody, and let them continue to speak. You'd be surprised what you learn when you can stay quiet. It's difficult to master. It becomes easier over time, and it's really great. And then the ninth insight, the emerging culture, and so that's the one that focuses on the outcome of implementing all of these other ones. When there's a universal state of enlightenment in the world, and we're all happy and got pink auras around us, and we're just not wearing shoes, and just enjoying it. So that's 9.
Well, where we all become one.
We all become
right?
one.
Mm-hmm.
Call it one.
Yes. So we really recommend this book if you are into spirituality and you want to, learn how to connect, with one another and stop this power struggle for once.
Yeah,
Already.
Yeah, stop this.
Stop it.
Cut it out.
Yes.
Leave me alone.
Don't take my energy.
Quit it.
Don't take my energy. I'm not giving it. I'm not.
You can have mine. I don't want it. I'm not going to do anything with it anyway.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. If you enjoyed this content, Jess and I would be very grateful if you would subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you access your podcasts. Subscribing is the best way to support us and make sure we continue to reach the people who can benefit from the information we share. We also invite you to follow us on social media. We are On the Run with Jess and Tom on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and OTR Jess and Tom on X. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with us, and thank you for your support.